From the shores of Malibu where the waves are pumping to the Great Wall of China and back to the streets of Toronto, Canada, where the UFC is coming. Happy 2024. We are live again for another year of It's Time Radio, the show where we talk about what you think about but may be afraid to voice. Do not worry, we will voice it for you, and we'll voice it stronger, more fun, happier, and more powerful than ever in 2024, because this is the year to make it more than ever before. Hello, everybody. Hi, TJ. How are you? My producer, my co-host, longtime co-host. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. I was trying to figure out how many calendar years this has been for Its Time, and I lost count after like 14.
I think we're probably on 16 or 17, and someone who's been with us for a number of those years, a great friend of the show, a great friend of mine, a brother from another mother, and here he is, the wonderful, the amazing, the commentator of the stars, the commentator of the UFC stars, and one of the greatest commentators in sports, Jon Anik. Jon, how you doing?
Happy New Year, fellas.
Happy
it's
New
great
Year.
to be with you guys. TJ DeSantis, I like the little salt in the beard. You know, one of my producers, and I'm not naming any names, told me to find my mid voice recently. But I got a hard time finding my mid voice, Bruce Buffer. I got big time energy for you today, and it seems like a good time to alert your new listeners and viewers that It's Time Radio and this podcast predates the greatest podcast or the biggest podcast in the world, the Joe Rogan Experience. So It's Time has been there, done that, been there before everybody else. And here you guys are rocking and rolling into 2024, and it's NFL season. So I'm happy to be on.
Fantastic. Great to have you on, Jon. And you know what? One of the things that came out this week, MSN published the boxing and MMA's top 50 most influential figures, right? And Jon, you made 49th.
How about that?
And Jon, I made 48th.
How about that? What an honor. That's amazing.
Honor.
You're breaking that news to me. That's really cool.
Yeah, I saw it yesterday. I thought you'd like to hear that. It was pretty cool, actually. It's Time Radio, as always, is starting off the new year, brought to you by It's Time Cologne, the top-selling cologne on Amazon.com for many, many months now, and Christmas and everything else. It's time to smell like a champion in the new year. And our other sponsor, Puncher's Chance. It's time to drink like a champion in the new year. So smell and drink like a champion and enjoy. That's my shilling for today on products, but there's a lot of stuff happening in the new year. We got the sponsors out of the way, including medicaleverything.com, our other major sponsor of the show. TJ, Jon, how was your Christmases? How was everything?
Well, I have a question after the Amazon stuff. The most bottles of cologne have been sold out of what country? Am I allowed to ask that question live on the radio or no?
I would say the U.S., but the U.K. it's been top 5 seller in the U.K. for months.
Yeah. Curious
but
how the women are responding, incidentally. But no, it's good. It's good to have a little respite. I had, I think, 20 of my 23 UFC live events up to September 16th, and then had just one show in October, November, and December. And I think I needed the reset. There's just a lot of noise in our world, and a lot of live events, and those pay-per-view weeks are just monsters and oftentimes become more obligatory than initially forecasted. So I needed a break, right? I felt sort of on the brink of burnout. So I feel refreshed. I feel ready to go to Toronto, albeit in the dead of winter. And, we're ready to go.
Yeah, Toronto's going to be a big trip. It's a busy trip for me. The home of King and Bay, my exclusive tailors to make all those beautiful suits and tuxedos that I wear inside the octagon and outside the octagon. So there's a lot going on. Now, that show, is that at the Rogers Arena? No, it's, where's it at?
I happen to have the fight card in front of me because I try to come prepared. No, I have it right here because in case anybody's giving me any fucking curveballs on a Wednesday, UFC 297, Scotiabank Arena. Versus Duplessis.
Well, I'm glad to see you're in the news because I'm not. I haven't seen the card for Toronto yet.
Well, I have not looked at the card for January 13th, which is 10 days from now when the UFC is back. But this pay-per-view looks outstanding, and we're going to be talking to a couple of the particulars on our show next week, including Dracus Duplessis. So, I'm excited for the pay-per-views, man. There's just nothing like these pay-per-views. When I say there are 15 Super Bowls a year, the 14 UFC pay-per-views, and the NFL Super Bowl, it sounds hyperbolic because I work for the UFC. But if I tell you that if I stop this job in 3 years, I'll buy every UFC pay-per-view for the rest of my life because it feels like the Super Bowl, which incidentally I don't have to purchase. So the pay-per-view enthusiasm for me has never been strong.
No, it's always strong for me too. And I know that Duplessis and Strickland are going at it on this show, and that's going to be one heck of a fight. Obviously, the build up to it. with the promos and the fights in the stands and everything else. People are going to definitely be tuned in. I will not be doing the January 13th show, but I'll definitely be there with you in Toronto, and we'll make it happen. And yes, I've seen the card partial. I just haven't received the bout sheet yet. You got the bout sheet, so you're ahead of me.
Well, it hasn't, it actually hasn't gone out yet, but we're sort of starting our process. And I was doing all my filing this morning. I was filing away all my old fighter cards. I have a little bit of a different system than you, and I have to preserve these notes in certain form. And no, my system isn't digitized, but it took me 70 minutes to file away the fighter cards because I let them stack up a little bit. And oh man, every time I do it, I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing, TJ? But here we are.
Your penmanship must be pretty damn good if you're not digitizing anything. That's
impressive. Penmanship. I don't even know how he reads these cards. He handwrites everything, or I type everything. I use templates, the whole 9 yards. Credit to Jon Anik, man. The work that this man does and the intricate detail work he does, it's phenomenal.
Well, TJ, he's banging on my penmanship. I mean, but no, I mean, it's pretty insane, right? Sometimes when I'm filing, right, and these are just the R's, and these go back probably 10 years. If you're watching on video, on audio, I'm not giving you much here, but TJ and Bruce, it's always interesting when you just go back and you'll come across like Wilson Hayes, right? Or some of these guys, it's like Joe Riggs, 59th pro fight, I call it, right? It's just, you just scan these sometimes and it's fun. And then I think, dude, you got to file these things away alphabetically. And I try not to screw up, you know, I don't trust anybody else to do it, right? Alphabetically, sometimes it can be a grind to make sure that they're all accurate. And then you go try to find your notes and they're not there on Yuri Prochazka. But yeah, it's a system that dates to Bellator season 1 in 2009, and it's not broken. So here we are.
You know, speaking of Bellator, speaking of the other companies, I want to go into something from moments from 2023. I will say that LA started off, before I get there, we had a 4.1 earthquake that hit us in LA on New Year's Eve day. And a 7.1 tragically, hit Japan at the same time.
Yeah.
But there was also like 40 other countries around the world, give or take, that experienced earthquakes all that same day. I don't know if that means it's going to be a rumbling year or not, but it's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, the world's a phenomenon to me, right? Every time I struggle to explain Santa Claus to my children, I say, would you just go outside and look around you, right? Do you believe in God? Like, who created all this shit? Right. So I just believe in God, and I believe in the world to somehow sustain as we continue to abuse it. But I don't even know, man. I mean, I live obviously on a peninsula here in South Florida. Joe Rogan tells me every day to get out of here, right? But everybody's coming. So
everybody's going to Florida, people going to Texas. So, enjoy, live where you want to live, just be happy. Someone's very happy they won the Powerball jackpot in Michigan. I think that was like 800+ million or whatever, give or take. So they're doing well for the new year. And Starbucks now is going to let customers use personal cups. You can bring in your own cup to Starbucks and get coffee now.
That sounds like a COVID mishap.
Who knows? But if that's one of the biggest news stories at the beginning of the year, I don't know. Let's get into some MMA stuff. Let's talk some UFC stuff that we all love and cherish and everything else. UFC 297, speaking of the Toronto card, it's taken a bit of a hit. The Dominic Reyes, Carlos Ulberg fight's been canceled. And we know that Rakic is booked for UFC 300, but Błachowicz had to reschedule his match after scheduling this shoulder surgery. Not just one, but 2 shoulders. He's going.
Yeah.
But it's still an intense card. It's still an intense card.
What's going on with the light heavyweight division, though? This is a division that, had John Jones lord over it for the longest time. Obviously, he's been out of the picture, but it feels like the top 5 athletes are just getting injured one after another, and pullouts and changes. I mean, it's weird, all the turmoil we've had over the last year and some change, I think, at 205.
Well, there's nothing turbulent about the new champion, right? And while everybody else is sort of around making noise and maybe not training 24/7, 365, this guy's quietly been working on his game. And it's great to see him realize this type of success. And I do think there's also a prize fighter within Alex Pereira that wants to sort of maximize his prime and as such turn around quickly. So TJ, with total veracity, I'm actually more excited about the light heavyweight division than I've been in some time, right? Like, I feel like we have clarity and a defending champion who's going to hopefully put the belt on the line soon. So
what do you think he's like on the archery course? I'm curious. Do you think he can really shoot a bow? Has anyone ever asked him?
Did you see him ever kick a soccer ball and then fucking shoot it with a bow and arrow out of the air? No. Yeah, I'll send you that video later.
Please do.
People are amazing athletes, and he's one of them.
Well, that's not even athletic skill. That is something that is like a technique skill. Like, yeah, I understand like it's athletic, but like I hate to say like golfers aren't necessarily the most athletic. I mean, they definitely are endurance, but it's like a skill game. You know what I mean? Archery's a skill game, and that's something altogether I can't even process.
I think it falls into hand-eye coordination, mental, a lot of it's mental, of course. I mean, we all know Joe Rogan's a big archer. I haven't done this since I was a kid, but it is a lot of fun. And
Is Rogan an archer or is he a hunter? Because I
he's
think there
both.
is a
He's both.
difference.
He's
I
both.
understand that, but like, I mean, can he shoot a soccer ball in the air? Like,
I
I
have
don't,
no idea.
because an archer can do that. A hunter, yeah, you're really just waiting for the animal to stop.
I don't know. I have a hard time with hunting because I have a hard time even thinking I could ever shoot Bambi. I can definitely, as I've always said, I can defend myself when that calls for it if I need to. Somebody enters my home, but I'm just not. I'm not an animal hunter.
You ever
John,
go
you're not
hunting,
either.
John?
I find myself at this stage of my life wanting to like hunt and fish and ski and do things I haven't done a whole lot of. I've fished a decent amount, but I've never put on snow skis and I've never hunted. So yes, I have this burning desire to join my great uncle Steve in New England and at least watch somebody else hunt something if I don't pull the trigger.
Let me
All I can
say,
say is, John, all I would say is that whatever you hunt, make sure you eat it. Just don't hunt for the sake of hunting. I hate people that just go out and want to shoot something to put a head on the wall.
Well, that is not at all what I guess I'm just looking to sort of experience everything that a hunting outing entails,
Yeah,
right?
getting
The
up in the morning.
outdoors and where you're going and
Yeah.
the waiting game and all
Yeah.
that shit.
Yeah.
All right, hey Buff, by the way, so and again, not to take the reins here, right? But
No, go
Bruce,
for
you
it.
do cuss at times when we hang out, right? Plenty, right? Let's be honest. The guy's got Northeastern roots.
I
right?
what?
You cuss.
You swear,
You swear.
Yeah. I have my moments, but I make
Not
sure.
very often on its time,
Yeah,
right? So,
no.
but when you said right, but so for me, it's like it's nice to be here talking to my friends, and that means I'm going to swear more. Whereas I can check that, right? I don't swear on the UFC broadcast, right? So,
No, you're not supposed to. Might slip out once or twice,
what
but
about on its time radio?
you
You're
can
supposed to
swear
swear
all
here?
you want, and I don't think you've ever been stopped, and I think you have carte blanche, and you've
All right.
certainly enjoyed it over the years. So
Outstanding.
if you need to get it out, John, get it out.
All right,
So
outstanding. This is my
all right.
platform. Great.
All right. Well, right now, the other thing you may want to curse about, I don't really think so, but finally, McGregor and Chandler has been announced that they're fighting in July on July Fight Week. Connor's opened up as a -120 favorite over Chandler right off the bat, and I'm looking forward to that fight.
So it has been announced. So we have a weight class. The UFC has confirmed this. Or are we talking Connor's announcement on Instagram? Right?
Connor, wait. Oh, okay. Then that's maybe where I'm differing because
Well,
Connor.
I understand there's a betting line, but there's no weight class, right? So I wouldn't even want to be analyzing a betting line without a weight class.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Connor said middleweight, but I haven't seen any official info on that. And I immediately thought it was a tactic, to be honest with you, testing the waters to see if he can get it done. I mean, Michael Chandler at middleweight seems odd to me. It seems like that would be a very big, blown up version of himself.
Right.
Connor, I mean, Connor looks like he's walking at 205 right now these days. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I definitely would like to see it at least 70 if we're not going to get it at 55.
I think
Yeah, Bruce.
170 is what I want to see it at.
Yeah, I think that it will be June 29th. It will be UFC 303 or whatever it is to headline International Fight Week. But
Right.
if we're trying to restore order, let us just hope that it happens at 170 pounds or south of that. I'm not expectant that it would be 155, right? But if you really wanted to try to lay some sort of foundation for Conor McGregor to challenge Leon Edwards or the welterweight champion, then have the fight be at 70. I mean, the 85 business, unless it's totally leg related for Conor, and I'd respect that, having this fight at middleweight, I just don't think it lays the foundation for much of anything divisionally.
Can't argue that point, John. God knows you know it better than anybody, and I'm totally with you on that. So we'll see. We'll see how it comes out. John, who's your pick of the fight of the year for male and female?
So on our podcast, Leon Edwards was my male fighter of the year because when I looked at Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman and the wins against those two guys and the training camps needed to pass those particular challenges, the nature of the Usman rematch because of the way that second meeting had gone with the head kick at the end, I just felt like Usman and Covington had sort of been two guys who could lay claim to being the best welterweights in the world for the better part of 5 years, and he beat both of them in a calendar year. Kenny Florian gets first pick on our show. He picked Islam Makhachev as his male fighter of the year. Sean Strickland, I would give consideration to as well. But for me, it was Leon Edwards was sort of my 1A to Islam Makhachev, who was already off the board.
Sean Strickland is a close second, I believe. And I'm with you on Leon Edwards, absolutely. Female?
How is it not Alexa Grasso, right? Like if I was part of a voting body and it was a meritocracy, then I would have no choice, right? If I want to go to heaven and not hell, for example, to write Alexa Grasso, right? Like Amanda Nunes, she retired in Jacksonville. She came over and kissed me on the forehead. It's the greatest moment of my professional life, right? I could easily give a retiring Amanda Nunes the female fighter of the year, but it would be disingenuous, right? In the UFC, Alexa Grasso every day of the week.
Yeah, I'm with you on Alexa Grasso. Most definitely. And then you talk about some of the top, we don't even have to comment. I just want to give a couple of what I think were the top fights of the year. And I definitely think of Justin Gaethje and Rafael Fiziev, definitely, and Islam Makhachev and Alexander Volkanovski. I look at those as two of the best fights of the year. Very, very strong. You can't get away from Dan Hooker and Jalen Turner. That was...
Yeah.
And speaking of Alexa Grasso, the Valentina Shevchenko Alexa Grasso fight where they fought for the second time back in September, I'm going with those as my picks for what I would consider a few of the top fights of the year.
I love it. What a huge year! I love the Jalen Turner Dan Hooker nod. That fight was just an absolute
it was
war.
insane. It was insane.
I wish I had given that more consideration. I actually went with Irene Aldana and Kadol Hoza that end of year bash between those two women. My goodness, right? Talk about their lives being forever linked. I mean, every time they see each other from now on, it's like, what did we do? My God.
I still haven't seen the fight. I was on the air, I think, with your brother, Jason, doing extra rounds as that fight was happening, and I still have not gone back to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, you want to feel like less of a man or whatever species we are, just go watch the toughness displayed by those two.
Incredible. Totally incredible. Totally.
But yes, you highlighted a lot of great fights. I do feel like the Makhachev Volkanovski fight at UFC 284 in Perth, Western Australia was heightened by what I would argue was one of the most special, loud, live fight atmospheres I've ever experienced in Perth. It was the singular hardest ticket in UFC history. I think it elevated that fight. That I felt like Makhachev won that fight 4-1. I didn't necessarily see it as the back and forth affair that everybody else did. Round 5 for Volk, awesome, right? Champion moving on up, but that wasn't necessarily the fight of the year for me. I think it was heightened by the atmosphere.
I agree. Let's get into some football here. Panthers owner David Tepper. Players are not the only ones that get fined. David Tepper threw a drink out of his suite at a Jaguars fan.
Yeah.
And now he's been fined by the NFL $300,000. I'm glad to see the NFL stepped up and did that. And I think it's worthy. It's completely the wrong behavior, not just from him, but from anybody in it. Anybody. I don't care if you're a fan in the UFC. You don't do that.
Right.
So good.
Right.
Good.
Even if a $300,000 fine to him is like maybe 30 cents to me. But yeah, right. The behavior from this guy, right? And I'm not suggesting that you don't fire the head coach if it's been the wrong hire, right? I'm big actually in business and other spots, a big advocate of like cutting the cord, ripping off the Band-Aid, like getting out of the business if it's failing like early on. But he's firing head coaches and throwing money at his problems. And now he's throwing drinks and getting fined for that. Yeah, you can't get away with that. Just bad form. That being said, like, I feel like I'm capable of some pretty hot-headed type behavior. So I don't want to come down too hard on the guy.
Well, there's really not much to say. You play, you pay. But now there is much to say about one thing, that that Detroit 2-point play that we all saw on Sunday.
Yep.
One of the greatest last-minute drives by anybody on a football team with 1 minute, 30 seconds, give or take, to go, and they go down and they go for the 2-point play. You wonder why didn't they just try to tie the game, but that's a whole nother story. And the fact that it was called back, but rules are rules. And I don't think it'll be overturned. It just kind of reared its ugly head with the controversy as a result of the show. And I was stunned, aside from if you're betting on the game.
Yeah. Well, that officiating crew has had a few issues this year, and this one chief among them. But I love Dan Campbell, the head coach of the Detroit Lions. But once you're backed up, I think you got to try to tie up that football game. But it is what it is, right? I think he believes in his team. I think he believes if he saw that team in a postseason setting, he would beat them. And we'll see what happens. I
Yeah.
just digested the whole week 18 board, and it's interesting, like the Lions after that game, right? Going into this game that really doesn't mean anything. What type of effort do you get out of them this weekend? I think because of their head coach and because of the nature of maybe the way that game ended, should get a big effort out of the Lions this weekend. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, speaking of this weekend, the game of the week probably, I'm thinking, is maybe the Bills at the Dolphins.
100% down here in South Florida for the AFC East. Josh Allen historically has been outstanding against the Dolphins. Miami's real banged up, and it is a war of attrition, right? It's not like the Stanley Cup playoffs, right? It's not like hockey where it's just the craziest 25 game physical grind over the postseason, right? But, Miami's sort of limping in, right? 3-point underdogs at home. The Dolphins are great down here at any time of year, especially this team, but they're probably going to be missing a few key cogs. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But for me, it's like, I don't know. It's win-win, right? Like it's interesting how when you move to a region, you soften up a little bit, right? Like when I first moved here, I was like trying to fight kids wearing Ryan Tannehill jerseys on Halloween. And now I kind of root for some of these people,
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Bills on that minus minus the 3 points. Usually when a team is at home and an underdog, I always say bet them if it's a Thursday, Monday, or Sunday night game. And that's my standard rule, which actually comes out positive, I would say about 70% of the time. And in this one, I'd have to go with the Bills. Miami's banged up. That's the AFC game of the week. The NFC game of the week is the Cowboys at the Commanders. Obviously, being the Philly fan that I am and wanting the Cowboys to lose so Philly can reign in their division. But Philly has not been playing good football. Their defense is very suspect right now. They really got a lot of work to get in and win these playoffs and get to the Super Bowl. I'll still root for them all the way.
Yeah, it's been a busy betting season for me as I've hedged the biggest betting ticket of my life, right? I have nearly $3,000 on the Philadelphia Eagles to win the NFC. So I have been methodically hedging against that wager, right? I mean, the wheels started to fall off several weeks ago. The last 2 weeks, even, right? The Philadelphia Eagles have been double-digit favorites the last 2 weeks. Certainly didn't cover either one of those numbers, and they just lost last week. So my Philadelphia Eagles fade has been in full effect, so much so that I might clean up a lot of this mess, because at one point it looked like they were going to be the number 1 seed, and I was going to have all these great hedging opportunities, right? They're playing playoff games at home as big favorites, betting these underdogs, and yeah, now I'm in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, no, again, you laid it all correctly. Lock of the week, potentially, I think the Buccaneers over the Panthers. I'll just do this quickly. Well, go ahead. You have a comment?
Yeah, this league is just so hard. In theory,
hard.
the Buccaneers should win at least by 6, 5.5, whatever the number is right now.
5.5 is the spread.
Gosh, such a stinker last week. Yeah, now they'll just be on fire a week later. This week is so hard. You try not to be too reactionary week to week. But yes, Tampa Bay on paper looks pretty safe.
And the Ravens are just on fire, but the Steelers are minus 3.5 points at the Ravens. Jackson's probably on target to be the MVP of the NFL or his league. So we'll see here. Ravens can try to think about exacting some revenge here by trying to avoid a season sweep, against their rivals, which is the Steelers.
Yeah, that's the only real angle for me because Lamar Jackson's probably not going to play. They've already secured the number 1 seed. He has already secured the NFL MVP. If you can believe that, it's pretty rare, right? Going into the final week or two, I guess last week he secured it, but that's a no contest as far as the betting market is concerned. Lamar Jackson has already wrapped up the NFL MVP. He is not going to play in week 18, and that's why the Ravens are catching points at home. But you can only rest so many of these guys, and I think this is a rivalry game, and they don't want to lose twice to him this year, and they are going to have a week off, obviously. I think you get a decent effort out of Baltimore, so I would take the plus 3.5 with the Ravens at home, even though they're not playing for a goddamn thing.
Interesting, but they're still playing a momentum. And then the Eagles at the Giants. Eagles are minus 5.5. I see the Eagles winning. They've not been covering the spread. It's very difficult. Emotionally, I usually pick the Eagles, but I think they need to win. Obviously, they don't want Dallas to win and take over their. If Dallas wins and the Eagles lose, then Dallas wins the division, correct?
As long as Dallas wins the NFC East. So Philadelphia is not playing for much here. I would be absolutely stunned if the Cowboys don't beat the Commanders as 13-point favorites, right, in DC. So
Yeah.
I'm fading the Eagles every day of the week. Giants plus 5.5, best bet of the week.
Giants plus 5.5.
Best bet of the week for me.
I have to tell you, I got to agree with you, and I hate doing that, but I got to agree. Let the Eagles still win, but just not by 6 points.
Well, right. Again, divisional game. The other side's playing hard. And look at Philadelphia these last few weeks. I mean, maybe they get it together, but I don't know. There's dissension in the ranks. It's not good, man. It's really not good if you're sitting on a $2,500 ticket on the Philadelphia Eagles to win the NFC, bro.
Well, I've
when
got
normally you bet $50 a game. It's not ideal.
I've got the NFC win. I've got the Super Bowl win. I've got it all there. Division win, NFC win, Super Bowl win. So all good. Rams and 49ers, definitely Rams minus 3.5 points at the 49ers. I said definitely the Rams, pardon me, but I think the 49ers are going to win, but they're not going to cover the spread. I think the Rams at plus 3 and excuse me. I think the 49ers at home plus 3.5 points is a hell of a bet.
Yes, that would be the side that I would be on. I've offered up a lot of strong opinions, I think, probably on some of these games. On that one, I probably would lay off, forced to pick, though. I would be on the San Francisco side. Some of their starters are going to play. Week 18 is just hard in the NFL. San Francisco's locked into the number 1 seed in the NFC. The Rams are sort of locked in to a lower seed. I just don't know what I'm going to get out of some of these games, you know? Like, if the Patriots had a better kicker, I would be betting on New England this weekend, home against the Jets. It could be Bill Belichick's last game. And the one thing you can always say about Belichick is he's a football coach and he coaches as hard as these guys play, and they always play hard for him, whether they have a year like this or they win Super Bowls. But when the kicker keeps missing field goals, it doesn't make you want to rush to the window. So, but I think New England's a pretty good spot this weekend if Chad Ryland can make a fucking kick.
Exactly. And not to go into too much detail, it was interesting how they benched Russell Wilson or will be benched by the Broncos due to the question on his contract. I've never seen that with a quarterback before.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe it's performance related. I do think Russell Wilson's numbers this year are better than the performance in totality. He has this shiny touchdown to interception rate, but terrible on third down, losing a bunch of big games late against shitty teams. So Russell Wilson, like, which team is going to be the sucker that takes Russell Wilson? Hopefully not my New England Patriots this offseason. But yes, he was benched for contractual reasons, has to pass a physical in March of 2024 so as not to be guaranteed this money in 2025, I guess, or something to that effect. I'm a UFC guy, but that's my opinion on Russell Wilson. I hope the Patriots don't take the bait.
Yep, we'll see. I agree with you. Top news from the bowl games. Laugh out loud. The woman flashed herself at the Sugar Bowl.
Really?
Yeah. And as a result, a XXX company's made her a $100,000 offer for a 1-hour webcam show. Boy, times have changed, man. This is just getting ridiculous. This happened again last season.
Have you seen the video clip of it?
No, I don't even care about it. I'm talking about it.
It's not what you think. They were shooting B-roll of Bourbon Street, and she's getting beads, and it happened to be in the background, and ESPN put it on the air.
And as a result, she gets a $100,000 offer. I mean, this world is really...
but she wasn't trying to do it on national television. She didn't know there was a camera there.
That's okay. The whole thing is just, this is where society's gone, you know? Whether it's, what is it, what is that site?
OnlyFans?
OnlyFans of this. It's just that the world's changing. It's crazy. Just want to watch sports. There's social media, everything. People are doing crazy things to get crazy results. Speaking of results, Roberto Clemente, his game used bat. John, I think you appreciate this. They expected to fetch $250,000, which to me seems kind of low, actually.
Yeah, I think it also speaks to the fact that you and I are kind of old. I remember doing a project on Roberto Clemente as a kid, and as a Red Sox fan, like, I felt like I could have a soft spot for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and obviously all he meant to, you know, baseball and beyond. But yeah, number 21 in your program, number 1 in your heart, total legend. But I would think a lot of your audience doesn't know who Roberto Clemente even is.
Yeah, unless you're over 40 years old, you don't.
I mean, I don't know how your audience skews. All I know is that like 93% of my Instagram followers are male. So where are the women at exactly?
John, that's a personal question I think you need to ask yourself.
Figured I'd bring it to your audience today.
All right. I have no comment on that, John. You're a fine looking man, married, and a great husband. We just put that out there.
Hey, thanks, buddy.
All right. Everybody set their goals and their resolutions for the new year?
I try to take it month by month, TJ. I don't know about you. I mean, in January, I'm trying to have no juice, which means no freshly squeezed Florida orange juice. And so far, I'm on day 3 and I haven't had any. Well, I did have Spindrift, if that counts, but I have not had any orange juice.
Why
no
would you
orange
do that
juice?
to yourself?
I don't
get
understand that.
No juice January?
Why?
Because
Go
my
ahead.
suits are tight and I'll just come home from these pay-per-views and fucking guzzle that shit like it's going out
hear
of
you.
business. Not particularly great for you. Now, perfecting athletes will tell you that if you have protein on the front end of the orange juice, and Buffer will tell you this too, but if you have eggs or then the protein will absorb a lot of what's bad for you in that orange juice. So it's not all bad, but no, we're just trying to cut back on the juice a little bit, TJ,
Good for you.
I
Give
mean,
me
I
all the
could go
juice.
like
I need
no
it.
soda September, right?
Yeah, I mean, what kind of soda do you drink though?
I try to stay away, but when I read that aspartame was not good for the vocal cords, it kind of changed my tune. So when I'm octagon side, I'm much more inclined to grab an American black tea, aka Coca-Cola Classic, as opposed to a Diet Coke. But no, I mean, I'll bang a 0 sugar ginger ale every now and again. I like a caffeine-free Diet Coke after a workout, but
I love a good ginger ale. I just had a ginger beer the other day.
yeah.
Crafted in I think it was Australia. I loved it. Oh my God, I love ginger ale.
If I drink soda, I drink ginger ale. Tonic water is not a soda. I like tonic water, but I'm not a soda drinker. I will say once in a long while, I'll have a Coca-Cola, and the fact that it's once in a long while, it tastes great, when I have it. But no, except when I go to the movies. My movie routine.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola, hot dog plain, popcorn.
Oh, that's where it's at.
You see, it's
Kenny
hard
Johnson.
For me, real quick, it's hard for me to talk about food or anything with Buffer because John, one time he's trying to read a story about this chain of fast food restaurants that claims to be the originator of the chicken sandwich. It's Chick and then F-I-L and then A. This dude doesn't know how to say Chick-fil-A. He calls it Chick-fil-A. He's like, TJ, have you ever been to Chick-fil-A? I'm like, what?
That was back then. I've been educated now, and it's Chick-fil-A all day long.
Bang.
I'm getting him right. Chipotle.
We can get you the audio file on Chick-fil-A if you want.
All right.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I was just going to say Kenny Johnson, the great wrestler and wrestling coach, worked with Alexander Volkov and many other UFC athletes and MMA athletes. He does a lot of Instagram content surrounding Coca-Cola Classic, which he refers to as American black tea. And I feel like it's very accurate. But my favorite food or beverage in the world, runner-up Chinese food, number 1, Coca-Cola Classic on the rocks, best food or drink in the world.
I think you've established that.
What
about the Mexican Coke? That's the high sugar Coke.
I don't know how valid my opinion is. I haven't experienced it enough,
It's not more sugar. It's just real sugar. With American Coca-Cola, you get high fructose corn syrup. With Mexican Coca-Cola, you get real cane sugar.
Right.
Well, I think one thing we established here, let's just establish it now. Sugar's not good for you. Aspartame is not good for you. Thank you very much about the fact that aspartame is not good for the vocal cords, John, because that means I need to avoid it as much as possible.
It's on show night. It's not in totality. It's just while you're performing. So maybe that makes you feel a little bit better. But I'm just saying those white Monster energy drinks that Brian Stan and I used to absolutely pound, and Rogan will have them on occasion. But I don't drink them anymore just because I felt like maybe it was the aspartame that was messing with my vocal cords. So
let me just take a look here.
What are we looking at?
No aspartame.
There you go.
We'll talk about it when it happens. Coming in 2024. So,
wow.
There we go.
It's time energy.
Yep. Make sure that we watch out for that. No problem. All right, Johnny. I have something very special to talk about right now. Would you like to comment on anything before I go into what I want to discuss?
Please, the floor is yours.
Okay, I know you're both my brothers and my friends for many, many years, which I truly appreciate your friendship and cherish your friendship and everything. I wanted to start the show with this, but I wanted to just do the show because what I'm about to talk about is the fact that the holidays were very special for everybody. They were very special to me, but these were the most different holidays I've ever had in my entire life. And the reason why is that my beautiful little mama, Constance Buffer, who we know is a friend of the show, and TJ, we've talked about her on the show for 16 plus years that we've been doing the show, but I lost my mother this Christmas, right before Christmas. My mother passed away. She was 95 years old. She had a beautiful, beautiful long life. It's very hard for me to discuss this, but I want to share it because she is a friend of the show. And as a friend of yours, John, you had the pleasure of meeting my mother. She meant everything to me. She's my rock. She'll be with me forever. Her strength, her energy, I feel it around me every day that I wake up to when I go to bed to when I sleep. She's one of the most amazing women. I wrote a eulogy for her that I would like to read on the show to end the show, if I may. But my mother was one of the biggest fans of the show, TJ. She always appreciated you, cracked up, watched the show incessantly, watched every UFC. I called her before every UFC and after UFC. She'd sit there in her UFC shirt, UFC sweatshirt, loving everything, talking to her afterwards, asking me about a fight, asking me why Herb Dean let a fight go too long or whatever the case might be. I mean, she was just always there, just an amazing woman and my best friend. And I want to share with you and my audience something very special, and then we will say goodbye, if I may. So in memory of my beautiful little mama, her name was Constance Buffer. Everybody called her Connie. She was born September 3rd, 1928, and she passed on December 21st, right before Christmas. A mother's love is one of the most amazing gifts a son can have. Both my brother Brian and I lovingly felt our mom's love throughout our lives and will continue to forever. She protected us, guided us, taught us, motivated us, disciplined us, and fought for us. She was always in our corners through thick and thin. She was beautiful, elegant, classy, loving, funny, kind, caring, loyal, giving, a nurturing woman who is full of positive energy. She is one of the toughest women I've ever known, who never gave up and instilled that character within me and my brother, plus so much more that my words cannot express. She was my biggest fan, whom I call before and after every UFC event. And now UFCs will never be the same for me without being able to call her, to hear her wish me good luck before I step into the octagon. We were best friends who celebrated, laughed, and cried together while experiencing the ups and downs of life. Whenever I got knocked down, she pushed me to get up and fight the fight smarter and harder than ever and win. But now my days are forever different. I don't hear her voice. I don't hear her laugh, nor can I hug her hello, kiss her goodbye, or hear her tell me that she loves me. But she will always be with me as I envision her smiling, laughing, and feeling her energy around me as a mother's love is forever. Goodbye, my beautiful little mama. Walking through life with you was and will be wonderful forever, and I love you more than you know. So I just wanted to share that. And my mother would want me to go on as I am, to be the strongest, the best, and most positive, and best human being I can be in life. And as I always say at the end of the show, a role model to my sphere of influence. And I will continue to do so in her honor. And I will continue to do so to be the best man I can be for myself, my family, my loved ones, and everybody around me. So I just want to share that with you, gentlemen, as I'm sharing it with the audience. But this show is dedicated to my beautiful little mama. And every show the rest of my life, as every day the rest of my life, will be dedicated to a woman who was there for me and made me the man that I am today, and my brother Brian.
Man, well, we love you guys, and I had the chance to get to know Connie a little bit and to FaceTime with her, and just I'm taking out pockets of what you said, and it's also beautifully written. I didn't think you could jerk my tears today, but it's undeniable, sort of this hole in your heart and hole in your life right now. And when you said your days are forever changed, you know, the sensation that went through my body is sort of indescribable, because I've been with you on the road for some of the health tribulations, right? I mean, she's 95 years of age, sharp as a tack until the very end, you got to know. And there was a real scare when we were, I think, in Brazil in 2016. And the way this woman stacked 7 years on top of that, with all the fire and zest and focus that accompanied the previous however many years, just an incredible, incredible woman. And it shouldn't surprise any of your listeners that she created this mountain of a man, Bruce Buffer, and Brian, who happens to be my favorite Buffer brother. But, you know, she had two wonderful sons, and she raised them the right way. And as such, she got to experience great joy over the final 40, 50, 60 years of her life, right? And two sons that wanted nothing but to sacrifice for her and make sure that her every need was taken care of. And, I don't know if it's a good time to share, but Brian Buffer was not omnipresent on the road with Bruce Buffer. He was non-existent, right? Because he's home making sure that everything's okay with Connie, and somebody's always there in California. And
Absolutely.
you walk back into your new life, brother, but I love you and we're here for you. And I'm just so thankful that you were able to have that type of relationship with your mother, because it's unique. Everybody doesn't get to experience that. But I love Connie and I love you, buddy.
Thank you. Love you too, John. Love you like a brother. TJ, the same to you too. And yeah, I hope that everybody out there gets to appreciate and have a relationship with their mom. But the bottom line is mine was absolutely beautiful, and I will cherish it forever. So I love you, Mom. Love you guys. Everybody, I wish everybody a fantastic year in 2024. And we'll be back next week. And thank you very much for listening. Big cheers. No fears forever. Love your loved ones, because in the end, that's all we have.